Hello, in this video I'm going to tell you about one of the most common mistakes people make when overcoming their fear of driving. It's something that you must avoid, otherwise you can actually make the problem worse. So what this is simply that people will do a session of therapy or an online hypnosis track or something like that, but we'll use a session with myself as an example. They'll do a session and then they won't go out and drive. They just think, oh, well, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go and try it. Or what if it didn't work? That is going to make the problem worse than ever. You see, many people have this misconception that when you do therapy, you'll come out of it feeling different. Now, sometimes people do, but for most people, you won't feel any different afterwards. You won't be smiling and skipping to the car and singing a nice song as you drive along. It doesn't work like that. But that's what people expect. They all expect to go into some kind of trance and have some weird thing happen and then they feel different and the problem's gone. It doesn't work like that. When you go out and drive after a session, you may well feel the same as you did before on the way there. Let's say you've got a fear of driving at high speed, which is very common. And people make the mistake of going out and they think, oh, I'm going to go to a high speed, or I don't know, or I'm not sure about this. And they turn around and go home. Then they email me and say, it didn't work. And I'll say, what happened when you went at high speed? Oh, I didn't. How can you say it didn't work if you haven't even done it? Because you haven't even done it. And people say, oh, well, I felt a bit scared. Yeah, you will. Because you haven't done it for years, right? And you've got to readjust. So this is where people go wrong. They form a secondary problem. Let me explain how not doing it can actually make the problem worse. Imagine that you come along to me for a session. We do a session, stuff comes up and sometimes people cry or get emotional or whatever. It's different for everyone. Some people show no emotion, it doesn't matter. But let's say we've done a session and then we fixed the problem. But you don't know that because you haven't been out and tested it. You think you felt a bit nervous. That's fine, that's natural. But if you didn't actually go through with it and do what used to scare you, you can't say it didn't work because you haven't done it. And yes, you might be scared on the way there. Yes, you might feel anxious on the way there. But the difference is that when you actually do it, it will feel different. When you're actually in the situation, not thinking about it, when you're doing it, you'll just think, oh, the feeling's different. It's muted or it doesn't feel the same. And you start to grow confidence thinking, hey, something's changed. Then it changes over time. That's how it works. But if you go out and think, oh, I'm a bit scared, I don't want to do this, I don't want to test this, then you come back. What happens is you've made a whole new problem because you fixed it with me in the first place, but now you haven't been out and tested it. You've compounded the old problem by piling new stuff on top of it. So now you come back for a second session and we're working on a problem that doesn't exist because we got rid of it the first time. But now we're working on you worrying about that it didn't go when it did, and that creates a whole new problem. And then we're not going to fix it because you haven't even driven. Then you go out and drive after the second session. Then you feel nervous because you made a problem in the second session. You'd got rid of the original one. I know this is a bit confusing, but this is how it works. You get rid of the original problem, but then because you don't go and realise that, you've made a whole new one. Then you come back for a third session. Now we've got the problem from the second session, which was created by you fixing the first problem, so now you've made a whole new one. And it makes a whole mess. And it gets so messy. And this is where people go wrong. They jump from one therapist to another saying, nothing's working, I've done it all and it doesn't work. It has worked, it's just you're screwing it up by doing it and then not going out and driving. And this is not exposure therapy, because anytime you tell anyone to go and drive, they say, oh, that's just exposure therapy. It's not, because exposure therapy is when you go out and drive just brute force pushing into the problem. You haven't actually fixed it. So in that case, you will feel worse. But if you do therapy, you fix it, then you go out and drive. That's not exposure therapy. That's driving after you fixed it. But if you don't go out and drive, you're making a whole new problem. Let's say that the first problem was caused by something from your past. It could be a trapped, repressed emotion, memory, whatever. We deal with that. But then because you don't actually follow through with your practice to see if it worked, what you do is just form a habit. You haven't actually got a problem anymore. It's just a habit. Think of it like, imagine you go on a date with someone and you get nervous just before, so you don't turn up. You just leave them standing there, sitting there, whatever. Then you arrange a second date with someone and someone else, perhaps because the first person won't want to see you again. You then don't turn up for that date. And then you don't turn up for the third date. And it becomes a habit. You get used to not doing it. And people say, oh, I've got some trapped emotion from my past. I've got this emotional problem that stops me from going on dates. You haven't. You've just formed a habit of just not doing it. So you get used to not doing it. So you've gone from having a problem to forming a habit. That's why it's vital that you drive after you've done a session. However, I will never force people into doing it because I don't want to say you've got to drive. Some people say it doesn't matter how bad you feel, you've got to do it. If you go out driving and you feel terrible, it's not safe or wise to continue. But sometimes if you don't continue, you'll never come through the other side and feel calm. So you see, this is where people go wrong. I've been through it myself, not with driving, but with other things. I had a situation which I'll tell you about in another video, or this will be far too long. But I used to feel a certain way doing a certain thing, and I did therapy on it, and right up until the moment that I did it, I felt the same as I always did. But then when I actually did it, there was no problem. So you see, if I'd have chickened out and thought, oh, I'm not going to do it, or I need more sessions, I need to do another 1 session, another 5 sessions, 10 sessions, then I'll do it. You're making the problem worse. You have got to do what scares you after working on it. It's no good doing it before, because that's just blunt exposure therapy, which fails 99.9% of the time. But once you've worked on it, don't expect to have some magical feeling where you just feel totally different, because you won't. People I work with who have success say that when they're on the way to go to this high-speed road or whatever, a bridge or whatever scared them, they said, I felt just like I used to, I thought it hadn't worked. But then when I did it, wow, it was different. And it didn't fully go, but it was better. And each time I did it got better and better. They did it. But if you wimp out, and if you just give up and just think, oh, I need another session, I'll just do another 1, then I'll do it. Then another 1, then I'll do it. 10 years later, you'll still be saying that. Because I've worked with people like that who've been going through therapy for year after year after year, and they just never go out and practice to see if it's actually gone. So please understand, if you've had therapy and you haven't actually gone out and faced what used to scare you, there is no way you can know what would have happened. Check out these other videos on the screen now for more help, and if you want to work with me one-to-one online, you can contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.